Good morning. Hand today is going to be 8-7 of clubs. In this hand, it folds to us, and we get to raise first in, which we did, and then small blind calls. So raise first in stat looks something like this. We can include all of our suited hands. A lot of times that I will. This player is defended about half the time. Not a whole lot of hands. He's playing 36-6. Just based on the 36, I'm going to expect him to call. So I don't think I'm going to be as wide as I usually am. I think I'm going to stick to something closer to this range. This player, we don't have much on him. Just 36 overall, 36% VPIP overall. 1 out of 5 from the cutoff, 3 out of 6 from the button, 1 out of 6 for the small blind, 1 out of 6 for the big blind. His calling stats 0 out of 2 from the small blind, 1 out of 2 from the big blind. This is just going to be a hard one to put together. So, usually pocket pairs, usually you get some suited broadways. Question is, how big is our 3-betting range? Well, he doesn't seem to be 3-betting a whole lot. 0 out of 16, but again, 13 attempts, or 16 attempts. We do have called 2 bets from the blind range ace queen off, so we know that that's probably not in the 3-bet range. I'll include ace queen suited in this 3-bet range, and then I give him like broadways. This could be way too narrow. Could be over generous. Maybe he doesn't have all of these suited aces, but we're gonna go with this and just see what happens. Flop comes down king 9-4 with the king of spades. This isn't terrible. Obviously, there's no ace, so it kind of neutralizes all of the ace-x hands that are in his range. Villain checks to us, no big surprise, and then it's to us. When we think about what we have, there's really not a huge number of draws, so I don't think we're gonna be c-betting a whole lot. His full to c-bet stat is 1 out of 2. Again, we don't have a large number, but I think when we look at ranges, I think we could bet like a set and there's 2 pair. And then when we start looking at like overpair and stuff, we're starting to not be able to offset it with junk hands. So you could see that you've got set, you've got 2 pair. That's 4%. What draws do we have? We've got 10% for a gut shot, and that might be it. I think that might be that might be our c-betting range right here. Maybe we added the overpair just so that we've got like 2 to 1, about that 2 bluffs to 1 value, and that's it. And that means all the other hands are going to be checks. So all the other hands would be checks, and I think ooh, really? No made hand? Whoops. Yeah, that's better. Looks something like that. Alright, so what do? I see that, and I think this is a mistake for the reasons I gave. We just don't we don't have enough cards in our range to offset any of the value hands. Yeah, we're gonna do sets and 2 pair, but our top pair I don't think we could bet because we don't have enough semi bluffs. Now we could rationalize that we're gonna bet because the player folds too much, but I think that's kind of wishful thinking. So we're gonna go with what I would have said had we bet. So we bet half pot. Villain calls. What does he call with? I think a lot of players probably call with the pairs because they don't believe that we've connected. I think a lot of players will do that. Maybe even the pocket pair below the board. I think possibly the gut shots are also there. So we're looking 61% if we assume that. I think that's even more reason why we should just have checked this hand. Now, if we do think he is calling with all of these, we're going to have to expand our range, and perhaps then 7-8 becomes realistic. So if we think he's going to call with all of the pairs, then we're going to add our top pair hands, our overpair, and our top pair hands to this range because we're getting value from them. So once we add those, then we're going to have to find some of the no-mate hands to go with it. And I think for that, we're probably going to be looking at like 2-card backdoor flush draws, which we have. Go like hand like 7-8, where we're kind of could backdoor a straight, backdoor flush, something like that. So maybe this isn't terrible. Queen of Diamonds hits. That kind of ruins all of our backdoor draws. Villain checks. No big surprise. And then based on how I played, I think we would continue. We would bet our straight, our sets. I think we would bet our 2-pair and the overpair. We've got middle pair to contend with. And obviously we've connected quite strongly. I do think we're going to be betting our cut shots. So I think the middle pair is probably a check. Maybe our overpair is also going to be a check. Just to kind of get a little bit more balance here. I don't think 2-pair is necessarily going to be a check. I guess maybe yeah, I think that is. I think overpairs could be a check. Villain called. They've got king queen kind of connects with the range. I think we could check, probably plan to a call with an ace. We'll go with that. That's our bet, which I think is suitable with this range. I think if we were adding in like the top pair on the flop along with some junk hands, including the 8-7, I think this should be a check. We did not improve our range at all, or we did not improve our hand at all. Villain calls, and I think with that second one, I think we're getting to start eliminate the weak pairs. I think we're still probably calling middle pair, pocket pair below the second cards as well, because now we're dealing with like cut shot draws. So we're going something like that, and then the 4 hearts comes. Pairs the board. That's actually good for our aces. Villain checks again. Question is, would he always check? Yeah, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Again, we don't have a big enough sample, so then it comes to us. What do we do? With that, we're betting value. Our quads are full house. We're betting, I think, a straight as well. I don't think we're doing the good 2-pair. I think we're just probably going to check. I guess we do good 2-pair, and the middle pairs we just check. I think when we ask, what hands will call us with the king, obviously like an ace king, if he happens to have like a king jack hand, king 10 hand, they'll probably call, so we get some value from those. A queen, if it was like queen jack, ace queen, if he called that. Does he even have? I didn't even have the ace queen here in his range, so 2-pairs kind of one of those. Since we have the king ourselves, it blocks a lot of the kings, so it's a question of what else does he have that could call. It's probably a toss-up between a bet and a check, but I do like all the other ones. So I checked. That kind of suggests that I've got possibly the good 2-pair and the middle pair type hands. We see a showdown, and he shows ace queen, so I didn't have it in his range. And as we look through, it was at this spot here. He had a call with ace queen. So if he's going to call with no mate hand, he has to call with those. And I have to say, if he calls with ace queen, he's probably calling ace jack, and ace 10, which is crazy. That gives him 83% of his hands. When the queen hits, we bet he's definitely has more middle pair, probably second pair as well. that he calls, so he's calling 45%, and then you connect with 4 hearts, and yeah, it's gonna be hard. I do think he probably calls again. Do you think, based on what he was calling with, would he call the weak pair? I don't know. And once we start adding all of those, then I think making it, betting with the 2 pair, that king nine starts to make a little bit more sense. Starts to go for value because he will call. All right, so we are gonna take notes here. So he called button 3 big blind RFI in small line with ace spade queen of hearts. He is out of position. He check called 50%, check call 50%, and then check on a king of club, 9 of heart, 4 spades, queen of diamonds, 4 hearts. So it's kind of interesting that he actually called with ace queen. Didn't really call with anything, just called with ace queen, and then connected. So maybe this is a player that's going to take 2 barrels, a double barrel to get out with a hand like this. So I just wonder what happens if this wasn't a queen. What happens if this was a jack? Would he have called? What happens if this was a 4 or a 5? Would he have still called? I mean, good for him, he called, but I think overall when we look at our ranges, because he's calling with all of those, that's why I think we have to tighten up a little bit on the flop. We've got a lot of hands that miss, and we have to be able to balance. So we have a lot of hands that miss this board. We're not going to be betting as frequently as we imagine. So overall, I think probably I was considering just firing to see if he's just going to overfold. I think that was a poor judgment. I don't think he would overfold. So for this, we're really only going to be betting our 2 pair sets and possibly our overpair, which isn't many combos in our total range. So then we're going to be adding in our gut shots as the semi bluff, and that leaves a hand like 8-7 or 7-6 as a check on this board. So overall, I think we should have checked the flop. Once we check the flop, I think we then check the turn again. And if he bets, we're just gonna have to fold. Board didn't help us. I don't see any way of us winning this board or winning this pot. Since I did c-bet, what do I do with the turn? I think then I make the mistake of barreling again into a player that probably has a pair and somebody that is probably going to be calling a large percentage of the time. So 45%, we're getting 55%. So I guess maybe, our bet isn't terrible because he is going to be folding. It assumes he's folding those weak pairs. So, all right, hopefully you enjoy this. If you do, look tomorrow for another one.